Hi, and welcome to Red Cup Conversations. I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and this is a production of Red Apples Media. If you're watching us on television, you're doing so on Lake Sumter TV, Comcast Channel 13, Bright House 498, and Century Spectrum Channel 83. So today I have an exciting guest, someone who I view as, well, an absolute community leader for our local community here in Lake County and a little bit further out there. I know he's traveled abroad. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Isaac Deas.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming.
Well,
here.
Thank you for having me here. I consider it a pleasure and an honor.
You should, because it's a pleasurable and honorable show.
All right.
All
good
right.
Deal.
So first and foremost, for those who don't know who you are, which around these parts probably few, because you've been here for quite a while.
Yes.
You have a tradition where you occasionally bless shows with song.
Yes, I do.
Would you mind maybe honoring us with that?
My pleasure. I love you, Lord, and I lift my voice to worship you. Oh, my soul, rejoice. Take joy, my King, in what you hear, and let it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear.
Well done, and
Well,
thank you, sir, for
sir.
that.
And
I
you know, the
appreciate
amazing
that.
thing, when I was young, before I came to Florida, I could not sing a note. I have no
Really?
idea what happened when I came. Maybe it's in the water.
No, I doubt that. Have you ever-
No, I'm telling you. When I went home the first time, I said, Mom, you know, I sang, and they liked it. And my mom said, You sang? Really? But, yeah, it's been a long while, but...
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we start with that? Tell our audience a little bit about some of your really,
Okay.
well, I'll say long history,
Well,
but let's hear a little bit about you.
Well, fine, I appreciate that. I'm from originally Connecticut.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're so sorry. Oh, please. The Patriots
I'm
are
from
winning.
Georgia.
Patriots
No,
are
no,
winning.
no. That's true. That's
Okay.
true.
But two-parent family, the youngest baby boy. We had a very, very good childhood, reared in the church. We went to, going to college was not an option. It was, you're going. There wasn't an option about that. And we did very, very well. My dad was a carpenter. And besides being a carpenter, he ran two clubs at Yale University. Skull and Bones and the Yale Graduate Center. So,
Is that right?
yeah, Skull and Bones is where a lot of our senators, presidents went through Skull and Bones. So I've met a lot of them when they were in their undergraduate school. We had them in and out of our house. So it was great. My first real job in Connecticut was a probation officer. I was the first black supervisor for the state of Connecticut.
Really?
Yes, in the juvenile justice system. And we had a good time. I did that for, I believe, 16, 17 years.
Wow.
And then there was a downfall. In my 16th year as a probation officer, for whatever reason, I felt that I wanted to try a drug. And knew what it did, but I just thought I just wanted to try it, see what it was like, and then move away from it. Well, I have one of those addictive personalities, and I tried the drug, and I really, really got caught into it, to the point of my ex-wife taking the kids and leaving, my house going into foreclosure. My parents, as much as they loved me, and just a caveat back, at this time, I had 3 masters and a doctorate, and then got involved. And of course, I was in denial. My mother would ask me straight to my face, "Are you doing drugs?" "No, Mom." "So-and-so said that you were." "No, Mom, they're lying. They're not telling the truth all the time." But lost everything. And when my ex-wife left with the kids and the house went into foreclosure, my thought was to go back and stay with my parents. But my parents said, "We love you. but you're not coming here. And that's when I hit the streets of New York City. And I have been to New York all my life. My grandmother lived there. I spent summers there. So I went from a 9-room home, 2-car garage, 6-figure salary to absolutely nothing, living on the streets in a cardboard box, living with the winos.
Really?
And that's exactly right. And what brought me to Florida, there's a place in Wildwood called Youth Challenge. Mm-hmm. And my ex-secretary had a brother down here who helped to establish Youth Challenge. And that's why I came to. My mother brought me a one-way ticket and a suitcase. And she said, if you come back, you're coming back on your own.
Wow.
But I went into the program for 22 months. The program was 18 months. I stayed 22, 4 months as staff. And then I became me again. I lost me, but then I became me again. So coming here to Florida, which was in 1990, and the amazing thing was my normal weight is 195, which I am right now, 195. But when I came to the drug treatment program in Wildwood, I weighed 87 pounds.
What?
Yeah, I went from 195 to 87.
Wow.
And my mom used to pass me on the street sometime. I wouldn't even know who I was. I mean, just would walk right by me. She wouldn't even recognize me. So I came to Florida and sort of got myself back together and stayed there in the program. And then I left the program. I started working for LifeStreams. And I worked for LifeStreams for 7 years. And substance abuse, go figure.
Right. Well, when it affects something like that is so profound in your life, then and it sounds like you absolutely got turned around or turned yourself
definitely.
around.
Well, yes.
Obviously with help. Then,
exactly.
You know, you try to help others.
Exactly. And so, I did that. But when I was in New York, just going back just a little bit, when I was in New York, I worked in probation there as well. The gang task force. So I had the real Bloods, the real Crips, the real Latin Kings, Latin Queens. So I worked with them. So that was my background. I've always worked with people. I'm a people person. So working at LifeStreams was a piece of cake. The ones that were coming through that program were nothing like what I was used to working with. But I did that for 7 years. And a friend of mine, Rob Zipperer, used to work at LifeStreams, and then he went to hospice, and he asked me to come work for hospice. And I said, not on your life. That is not my thing. I don't want to see people dying.
It's a different world.
It really is. But I lost my dad in 2000. And when I saw what our family had to go through, it made me more sensitive about hospice. And the blessing was he had asked me to come to hospice 6 months earlier. Well, when I finally decided to go to hospice, that job that he offered me was still open 6 months later. And so I think it was meant for me to be there. And I worked at I worked at Cornerstone Hospice for 18 years. And I retired about 1.5 years ago.
Well, congratulations for all of the hurdles you've jumped. But congratulations on your retirement.
Well, thank you for that, too. But I think I'm working harder now than when I was
working. And that's what I was going to try to touch base on. So what is it? Because just doing a little bit of background on you, you do a lot. You've got things going left, right, center, up, down. Yeah. You're on the move. Well, what do you have going on right now?
Well, right now I have my own counseling practice. I'm a licensed mental health counselor.
Okay.
And I have an office in Tavares and a satellite office in Claremont. So I do mental health counseling with children from 8 all the way up to hospice, from 8 to hospice. Yeah, doing very, very well with it, and I absolutely love it. I'm also a pastor. I have a church in Summerfield, New Bethel Community Church. I'm the senior pastor. We have about 110 members, and we're doing fairly well.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah. So I also used to teach at Lake Sumter Community College. I taught there for 10 years. I taught two courses called Marriage and the Family, and the other one was called Social Problems. So my classes were very controversial.
Which is both mental health side,
exactly.
Especially the marriage.
Exactly. But one of the reasons why I do what I like to do, I see a lot of our young people taking the path I took. Now, I was older when I got involved. I think I was 30 or 32 when I got involved with the hardcore drugs. But I see these young people doing it at an earlier age, and that's what gets me up in the morning. As far as our culture goes, a lot of the people that I work with, some of these kids are selling drugs for their parents. Some of these kids are doing
Good
drugs
Lord.
with their parents. So that bothers me.
And I really want to get into that because I'd like to try to bring it home and bring your experiences and what you see and some of the services that you provide as well.
Right.
But we need to take a quick break. So when we return, we'll continue our conversation with Dr. Isaac Deas. We'll be back in a moment. Hi, and welcome back to Red Cup Conversations. Again, I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and this is a production of Red Apples Media. So we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Isaac Deas on, what I'd like to do now is kind of go into what you see, I don't want to say culturally, but in our society. But before we do that, I know that you, because we're talking a lot on youth, you take some young men and women on a very special trip every so often.
Yes, indeed.
Can you talk to us a little bit about
I
that?
certainly will. I take youth, 8, male, female, 8 and up, 8 to 18, on a jail tour. I take them
8 years old.
8 years old, and you'd be
If
surprised.
they're getting in that kind of trouble at 8 years
And
old,
you'd be surprised. But we take them to the Lake County Correctional Center the last Friday of every month. It's about a 2-hour jail tour. And the thing that people don't understand, and sometimes the youth don't understand, is that there's a juvenile pod in there. And we go into that juvenile pod, and those kids tell them what they did to get in there and what really goes on in there. And I'm a bottom line type person. If you want to act like a gangster, if you want to think you're a little thug, then let me show you where you might end up. Let me show you your roommates. And if you think you can handle this, then keep doing what you're doing. If you can't, then maybe you need to change your mind. But it's amazing that a lot of them, when they're going in there, they're talking so much nonsense about what they're going to do and what this person is not going to do. But at the end of the tour, they're crying. They're crying
Really?
coming out the door. And I'm saying, I thought you were the gangster. I thought you were the tough one. What's going on? So I confront them. I don't let them get away with anything.
no.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is hyped, right? That image, that movie star life, the
Exactly.
gangster life, I'm dangerous, and dangerous is fun until bullets are flying by your head.
Exactly right.
You're falling into a line of work that
And
it doesn't help anybody, especially
Exactly.
yourself.
And recently, I've had a couple of clients, they know how to put things on Facebook. So they make these Facebook images or videotapes or whatever it is, but they have these guns, whether they're real or not, but they're on this video. You can't tell if they're real. And they're making these YouTubes and putting it on Facebook.
yeah.
And I'm saying, now, why would you have drugs and guns with your face and you're going to just put it for the world? It just seems like it's okay with you. But one of them recently got arrested because of it.
Really?
And got sent away for 5 weeks. But
Well, maybe that'll be enough to change the direction.
I'm hoping so. Because my aim is, if I can change one person, if I can change one, I feel like I'm doing what I have to do. So I appreciate that. And with my counseling, if the child's involved, the parent's involved. If you're not going to be involved, I'm not going to work with your child, because you may undo what I'm trying
Everything
to do.
you're trying to do.
Exactly right.
Never
But
thought
a lot
about
of
it like
times, a lot of times I find that the parents are the ones who are influencing and encouraging the kids to do what they're doing. And that bothers me.
That's their first, more times than not.
Exactly.
First role model.
Yeah.
The first, how do I do that?
Exactly right.
Whether it be changing a light bulb or treating your spouse.
Exactly.
That's their first sight.
Yes, exactly. So that's my impetus in getting up in the morning. But also, I was telling my church members the other day, stable marriages are on the decrease. Divorce is on the increase.
Oh, it's out of control now.
And I go into the schools a lot, and the thing that still amazes me, out of every, let's say 7 children, 4 of them have a different last name than their parent. So you have kids in the home with 2 and 3 different last names. So it lets me know that there may not be stability in the house. I understand divorce. I understand all of that.
Sure.
But 2 or 3 different last names, something I think is amiss.
Do you think that's on a bigger picture that maybe culturally we don't view marriage the same way that we used to? Because now it doesn't seem like, I don't know, it just seems like the youth and young adults see monogamy as a type of wood.
Well, I think,
and not, it's
no.
like, oh yeah, that table's made out of monogamy.
And I think that you're right. And I don't want to blame it all on the mass media, but television makes it seem like it's okay. It's okay to sleep around. It's okay to have extra affairs. And I think we see it so much that we become insensitive.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything because we see it so much and it's so accepted. To be pregnant at 15, 16, in my age bracket, when I was 15 or 16, there was shame to that. And a young lady would go all out of her way not to allow that to happen. Now it's sometimes you're a grandparent at 25.
And I know exactly what you're talking about. I grew up, where I don't want to say moral value, but it was still, people were still clinging on to the old ways.
Exactly.
For better or worse.
Exactly.
Right? Nothing's ever 100% great and flawless, right? But where do you think there's a way we can have a merger between the beliefs? Because religion plays a large part in marriage.
Exactly.
And it seems, at least on the media, that people are, I don't want to say running from religion, but it may not be the most important driving force is what it used to be 20, 30 years ago, because we'll just talk about the institution of marriage. It's not viewed the same. I think I heard a report, I apologize, but old stats, it was like 75% of all marriages end in divorce now.
Right. Yeah.
That's a society shift.
Yeah. Well,
of importance where, oh, no, I'm tired of you putting cereal in the refrigerator.
Exactly.
I like it in the cabinet. Get out of my house.
Yes.
And
and right along that lines, when I was teaching at Lake Sumter College in my marriage and family class, the very first question I asked them on the very first day, how do you go from I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, I absolutely adore you, to I hate you, I want alimony, how do we go from this to that? And as we discussed it, we're not truthful in the dating stage. We are pretentious during the dating stage. We're not truthful. We don't know. We hide the real us. And sometimes what I find lately is people meet within 3 months they're married. You don't know that person.
And that you see that often.
Yes. So we don't date long enough, and honesty.
Yeah.
And the ingredients for a stable marriage, in this order: communication, respect, honesty, trust, finances, intimacy. In that order.
Finances before intimacy.
Yes. And the first 4 are your foundation: communication, respect, honesty, trust. That's your foundation.
Of course.
If that's not correct, in the other 2 you're going to have problems with. If you have a stable foundation, I always tell men, a woman would live in a shoebox with you. If she knew you loved her and you had her back, she'd live in a shoebox with you. But if she's not sure about who you are.
But do you think that's still the case nowadays?
I know it's still the case.
Okay.
We have weak foundations. We're not talking.
No, that I do not doubt. I don't doubt that for a moment. Because again, I think we are putting ourselves in a position where everything is rushed. I don't want to. It's kind of cliche, but it's that entitlement, right? It is. Exactly. It's not even generational anymore.
Right.
It's epidemic.
It really is.
Everybody's entitled just to whatever it is they want, even to the point where I want that. But what do you mean I have to work for it? It's just
yes, you do.
Where did we come? My grandfather's turning over in his grave right now.
Indeed.
You know?
Indeed. And people ask me sometimes, "Well, you're divorced. How can you tell us what to do?" I can tell you what not to do. I can tell you what not to do.
I do the same. I say the same thing. I can tell you what not to do.
Yes, but I know children want direction. I think they want correction. I'm hard on them. I don't belittle them and call them names, but I'm hard on you. If you tell me you're going to do something, I expect you to do it. And I don't flex. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I don't deviate. If I'm going to refer you back to probation, if I'm going to tell your parents I will tell you to your face, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it. So they know when they come to see me, and it spreads. So a lot of times when new kids come and see me, you had so-and-so, I know what you're going to do. I know what you're going to say. Then you know, too, that if you mess up,
that means your message got through.
Exactly.
If you know what I'm already going to say, then would you do it in the first? Now, this is from father to son.
Yeah.
Well, if you knew I was going to say that, why'd you do it?
Yes, indeed.
Dad.
That's indeed.
Well.
But you know what? They keep coming back. They come to me for advice. They come to my office even when I don't want them. Well, it's not that I don't want them. I'm not expecting them. They'll come because they know I got you. I got you.
And that's important for people to have, to me, enough trust where they've got someone they can go to. Because again, your overarching realm is mental health.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And one of the things I find also, once a year I have a women's conference. And we generally hold it at Lake Square. No, it's not Lake Square. It used to be called Lake Square Presbyterian Church. It's now called Graceway on Radio Road. So we usually have 120, 140 women. And I have different speakers, talking about that. But I know we're running out of time. So if I may,
Of course.
If any of y'all need any more information, or if I can come to your place or school and talk, please feel free to call me at 352-406-1264, or my email is IDs, my first initial, last name, IDs2@comcast.net, and my website is Deas.consulting.
Well, Isaac, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to have you come back sooner or later because there's so much I'd like to talk to you about.
Deal.
All right. And that does it for this episode of Red Cup Conversations. I've been your host, Kris Poliquin. We'll see you next time.